Imagine paying, I don't know, maybe $1,200 for a state-of-the-art flagship phone.
Oh, easily 1,200 these days.
Right. So you pay all this money, and you step out into your garden on a perfectly sunny morning. You want to take a picture of this tiny, brilliant green beetle just resting on a leaf.
Sounds like a great shot.
You'd think. But you bring the phone close, and it's just a blurry, dark mess. It won't focus.
Ugh, the worst.
But then you pull out this dusty 5-year-old backup phone from your junk drawer.
Okay.
You point it at the bug, and it captures the beetle in absolutely stunning magazine-quality detail.
Which makes 0 sense on paper, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And today, we are looking at why the tech industry is quietly making your shiny new devices worse on purpose.
They really are.
And we're also going to look at how one extremely methodical guy on the internet decided to hack his way around it. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be diving into this one. It's a fascinating topic.
It really is. We are jumping into a single, highly revealing journal entry. It's dated March 11, 2026, from a site called qianmeng.org.
Yeah, written by a really interesting guy named Ang.
Right, Ang. And he describes himself as an old software plumber.
Which is such a great title.
It tells you so much about him. And while this specific post is just, short update on his quest to find the perfect mobile setup for extreme close-up photography.
Macro photography, yeah.
Right. It basically rips the lid off this massive rabbit hole. We're talking spec sheet engineering, the actual physical limitations of our gadgets, and what it takes to be a practical problem solver in a world of planned obsolescence.
It serves as a masterclass, really, in how to navigate the modern consumer tech landscape.
Oh, total.
Because Ang isn't just complaining about a frustrating user experience, He is systematically reverse engineering a very specific and honestly highly unconventional solution.
Yeah, he really is.
He's looking at the tools we use every day and just flat out refusing to accept the default parameters set by these trillion-dollar companies.
To really grasp his solution, we have to understand the mind of the person writing them.
Oh, absolutely. The context is everything here.
Because we are not just looking at some casual blogger. This specific post, the one we're diving into, it's titled Notes on Photography, Part 231.
Part 231.
Right. And that is just a single category. It's a drop in the ocean of his website.
Yeah, the volume is wild.
I mean, in the year 2025 alone, Ang published 730 posts.
Which is... Wait, that's 2 posts a day?
Exactly. 2 posts a day, every single day for a year.
Wow.
Just meticulously tracking every facet of his life and his work.
The sidebar of his site is a testament to an intensely organized, relentlessly curious mind.
Yeah, you look at it and it's just endless.
He has been maintaining this public journal for 15 years, dating back to 2011. So the volume is staggering, but the breadth is what really stands out to me.
Yeah, let's talk about the breadth. You look at his project list, and he's writing these deep, highly technical notes on Erlang programming.
Oh, Erlang.
And for you listening, if you don't know, Erlang is this incredibly robust programming language. It was originally built for telecommunication systems.
Basically, systems where massive concurrent phone calls are happening all at once.
Right. And failure simply is not an option. It requires a strict zero downtime mentality.
We can't just reboot a phone grid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And alongside that, Ang is doing deep dives into Floss.
Free and libre open source software.
Yes. This whole philosophy of having the actual blueprints to your digital house, it's about demanding transparency, modifying your tools to suit your exact needs.
Rather than just accepting a closed ecosystem from Apple or whoever.
Right.
Which perfectly explains his approach to physical hardware.
How so?
Think about it. When you spend your entire professional life building fault-tolerant software systems and championing open-source transparency, it completely ruins your tolerance for physical objects that don't do exactly what they're supposed to do.
Oh, that makes so much sense. You expect things to just work.
Right. You stop accepting black boxes. You want to know why the camera isn't focusing on the bug.
Right. And he applies that exact same zero downtime analytical rigor to his physical environment.
Oh, yeah. His hobbies get the same treatment.
Completely. Right next to the heavy software architecture notes, he has a section called Beta Spawn Logs.
Beta fish.
Yes, where he tracks the precise daily variables of breeding fish.
That is amazing.
And he has notes on gardening, where he chronicles his strategic battles with leggy seedlings.
Baggy seedlings.
Yeah, and propagating mustard greens. He approaches a delicate plant with the same iterative, problem-solving mindset he uses to debug a server.
Tinkering, documenting, iterating.
He tinkers, He documents the failure and he iterates, which brings us directly to his current target.
Mobile macro photography.
Exact.
For context, for those listening, macro photography is the art of extreme close-ups.
Like really, really close.
Right. It is about capturing the granular texture of coin, or the compound eye of an insect, or even like the frost on a window pane.
Stuff you can barely see with the naked eye.
Yeah. And traditionally, achieving this requires a heavy DSLR or a mirrorless camera body.
Plus a lens, right.
Oh yeah, paired with a highly specialized and usually very expensive macro lens.
But Ang explicitly refuses to go that route.
He doesn't want the bulky gear.
No, he outlines a very practical constraint. He asks, why spend money on a large dedicated camera system when the sheer bulk of it guarantees you won't actually carry it every day?
It's the old saying, the best camera is the one you have with you.
Exactly. The best camera is the one in your pocket when you actually spot that bizarre beetle on your mustard greens.
It is a philosophy of friction.
Friction, right.
If capturing the image requires going back inside the house, unpacking a bulky camera bag, and swapping out lenses,
The bug is gone.
Exactly, the moment is already gone.
His proposed solution, though, is where I honestly have to push back a little bit.
Oh, how so?
Well, instead of a traditional camera, Ang decides his ideal setup is to buy a used mobile phone, specifically an older one with a 5-megapixel macro sensor. And he wants to use that as his dedicated driver, solely for daily photography.
I see where you're going with this.
Wait, so he wants to carry two phones, his primary communication device, and then a second, older smartphone, just for taking close-up pictures of bugs.
That is the plan, yeah.
I mean, taking what was explicitly designed to be a multi-tool, a smartphone, and artificially restricting it to a single purpose, it feels incredibly cumbersome.
It is definitely a choice.
It reminds me of people who refuse to use streaming apps on their modern smartphone. You know those people.
Oh yeah, the retro tech crowd.
Right. Instead, they carry around a refurbished, brick-like iPod Classic just to listen to MP3s. I mean, is carrying a second smartphone actually less burdensome than just carrying a compact digital camera?
What's fascinating here is how this approach fundamentally redefines our relationship with mobile hardware.
Okay, sell me on it.
Think about what a smartphone actually is under the hood.
It's a tiny computer.
Exactly. Ang isn't looking at an older smartphone as a communication device. He doesn't care about the cellular antenna or the messaging apps.
He's probably not putting a SIM card in it.
Right. He is recognizing it as a highly sophisticated, incredibly cheap, pocket-sized camera computer.
So he's effectively treating an outdated phone the way a master mechanic treats, like a highly specific, customized wrench.
That's a great way to put it.
It's not meant to do everything. It's meant to do one thing perfectly.
Precisely. Because look at the alternative. A dedicated macro lens for a traditional camera could cost $800.
And it requires a big camera body to attach it to.
Yeah. But a used 3-year-old Android phone with a dedicated macro sensor, that might cost $100.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a huge difference.
It gives him the flat form factor he wants, the immediate digital processing power, and the specific optical tool he needs.
All in a slab of glass and aluminum he can just slip into his back pocket.
Exactly.
Okay, when you frame it as a cheap, ultra-thin digital camera that just happens to be able to make phone calls, right?
The secondary device idea actually sounds brilliantly subversive.
It's a very hacker mindset.
But this introduces the massive roadblock in his plan.
The big mystery.
Why does Ang have to become a tech archaeologist here? Why does he have to hunt down a used phone? Because he notes that his current primary phone has a 2-megapixel macro sensor, and he wants to upgrade to a 5-megapixel sensor.
Which seems like a normal upgrade path.
Right. Why can't he just walk into a carrier store today, point to the most expensive, newest flagship phone on the wall, and buy that?
Because his research slams into a very counterintuitive reality regarding modern tech manufacturing.
It is super weird.
The industry is actively downgrading these specific sensors.
Downgrading them.
Yes. Across the board, manufacturers are dropping their macro capabilities from 5 megapixels back down to 2 megapixels.
Insane.
Or, even worse, they are eliminating the dedicated macro lens entirely.
And just faking it.
Basically.
Yeah.
They are lazily offloading that function onto the ultra-wide lens through software cropping. Okay, let's unpack this, because it genuinely defies the core promise of the tech industry.
Which is that spending more money gets you better hardware.
Yes, and specifically documents that this downgrade is happening, quote, especially in higher-end flagship models.
The expensive ones?
Right, The most expensive premium devices on the market are secretly giving you worse optical hardware for this specific feature than budget phones did 3 years ago.
It's frustrating.
It's like trying to pack for a luxury vacation in a tiny suitcase.
Okay, I like this analogy.
If the marketing department demands that you pack a massive, heavy winter coat, which is the 200-megapixel main camera sensor,
Big selling point.
you physically don't have room in the suitcase for your specialized hiking boots. You have to swap them out for paper-thin, cheap flip-flops just to get the suitcase zipped shut.
Just to make it all fit in the chassis.
That's exactly what manufacturers are doing with these macro lenses.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a textbook example of spec sheet engineering driven by marketing economics.
Spec sheet engineering. Explain that.
As Ang astutely points out in his post, this trend is, in his words, most likely to cut costs.
But they charge over $1,000 for these flagship phones.
They do.
How can they justify cutting costs on a literal camera lens when the camera is usually the main selling point of the phone?
Because they know exactly how the average consumer shops.
Okay.
When a company designs a flagship device, they are constrained by a strict budget for components. And they're also constrained by the physical Z height, the thickness of the phone.
Right. Everyone wants a thin phone.
They know the vast majority of buyers only look at the headline numbers in big, bold font on the display card at the store.
The big numbers.
Exactly. They look at the main camera. Is it 50 megapixels?
Well,
100, 200.
Bigger number means better, right?
Well,
that's what we're taught.
Right. They look at the screen refresh rate and the battery size. So the manufacturers pour 90% of their component budget and their physical chassis space into those marquee features.
So they can slap a giant, pro-grade 200-megapixel camera sticker on the box.
Just to justify the price tag?
And to maintain their profit margins after installing that incredibly expensive main sensor, the accountants step in.
The accountants always claw back pennies wherever they can.
So they quietly gut the niche features.
Exactly. They slap a tiny, cheap, physically inferior 2-megapixel sensor on the back of the phone.
Why even put it there at all if it's garbage?
Just so the legal department can advertise the phone as having a quad camera setup.
Oh, wow. That is so cynical.
The marketing sounds impressive, 4 cameras, but the actual utility of that specific macro lens is terrible.
They're just padding the stats.
The manufacturer is basically betting that you won't read the fine print until after the return window closes.
And I mean, if you've ever tried to take a picture of a barcode or like a tiny serial number on the back of your router,
Oh, I've been there.
or even just scan a receipt on your desk, your brand new, incredibly expensive phone just kept blurrily hunting for focus.
Just zooming in and out, refusing to lock on.
Yes, you have been a victim of this exact hardware downgrade.
It's a universal experience now.
The illusion of progress is so strong that we usually blame ourselves. We think, oh, I'm not holding the phone still enough.
Right, or the lighting is bad.
Rather than realizing the manufacturer literally removed the physical capability to take that shot.
It forces consumers who actually care about utility into a corner.
Which brings us back to Ang.
Right, which is exactly why Ang refuses to accept the compromised 2-megapixel garbage they're pushing on the new flagships.
He steps off the treadmill.
He goes hunting outside the current product cycle, and through his meticulous documentation, he actually finds a viable escape route.
Yes. He narrows his global hunt down to 3 very specific, slightly older, refurbished models.
And what were those?
The Xiaomi 12, the Xiaomi 11T Pro, or the Redmi Note 10 Pro.
Okay, very specific Android phones.
Very specific. Now, out of all the thousands of Android phones that have flooded the market in the last few years, what uniquely ties these 3 specific models together?
It isn't just that they happen to have a 5-megapixel sensor, is it?
No. It is the architectural type of lens. They all feature what the industry briefly called a telemacro lens.
And this seemingly minor distinction is the linchpin of his entire strategy.
It really is.
Because it solves a massive physical problem that most tech reviewers completely ignore.
Why do they ignore it?
Because they only test phones in perfectly lit studios with ring lights.
Oh, right. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because Ang highlights a stubborn physical reality of photography.
The physics of the real world.
Exactly. If you've ever tried to use a standard macro lens on a smartphone, you know the struggle. To get the subject in focus, you have to push the phone physically uncomfortably close to whatever you are shooting.
We're talking, what, barely an inch away?
Yeah, literally hovering right over it.
Which immediately introduces severe environmental complications.
Because you block the light.
Right. You are no longer just an observer. Your equipment is interfering with the scene.
Exactly. Well, Ang calls it the shadow problem.
The shadow problem. I like that.
He writes that with a normal macro setup, you are, quote, constantly fighting your own shadow just to get a clear image.
It's so true.
Picture this. You are out in the garden, tracking one of Ang's leggy seedlings. The sun is shining brightly right over your shoulder.
Perfect lighting.
Right. You bring your phone in closer, trying to get the shot, and suddenly, boom.
Shadows everywhere.
The giant opaque rectangle of your smartphone entirely blocks the sun. The seedling is now sitting in pitch black shade.
Which defeats the whole purpose.
Your phone's shadow has ruined the lighting of the exact thing you were trying to photograph. It is like trying to read a tiny pocket-sized book while someone stands directly behind you pointing a flashlight at the back of your head.
That is a perfect analogy.
The closer you bring the book to your face to see the tiny text, the darker the pages get.
This raises an important question about practical design versus theoretical capability.
Yeah, spec sheets versus reality.
A camera lens is practically useless if the physical act of using it destroys the ambient light required to expose the photograph.
Right, you need light for a photo.
This is why the telemacro lens is the ultimate elegant fix.
So break down the mechanics of that for us, because the word tele obviously implies distance, right? Like a telephoto lens you'd use to shoot sports from the bleachers.
Exactly.
How does that combine with macro, which is all about being right up close?
It is a brilliant bit of optical engineering, really.
Okay, how does it work?
A traditional macro lens functions somewhat like a simple magnifying glass. You have to hold it right up to the object to achieve focus.
Right, an inch away.
But a telemacro lens uses a stacked array of internal glass elements to essentially build a tiny telescope inside the phone's chassis.
A telescope inside the phone.
Yeah. It bends the light, combining the extreme magnification properties of a macro lens with the much longer focal length of a telephoto lens. Physically, it allows the sensor to grab a highly magnified sharp image while the device itself remains several inches or even a foot away from the subject.
Which means the phone is completely out of the way.
Exactly. The shadow problem is gone.
The ambient light, the sun, the desk lamp can still hit the tiny serial number or the beetle on the leaf.
You get the light and you get the shot.
You aren't contorting your body, your hands aren't shaking a millimeter away from the subject, and you aren't casting a giant shadow over your own work.
You get the extreme magnification without the physical obstruction.
That is so smart.
Ang's research proves that finding the right tool isn't just a matter of hunting for higher megapixel counts on a spec sheet.
Right, it's not just about the numbers.
It is about deeply understanding the physical realities of using that tool in a three-dimensional environment.
Where there's sun and shadows and weird angles.
The telemacro lens bridges the gap between digital capability and physical practicality. It acknowledges that the photographer actually exists in the real world, casting real shadows.
It's such a hard-won, practical realization.
It really is.
He didn't just passively read a tech blog's list of numbers. He thought about the physical act of standing in his garden, dealing with the sun, and realized the modern smartphone design was actively, structurally working against him.
And that highlights the immense value of his methodology.
The tinkering.
By rigorously defining his constraints, he won't carry a heavy camera bag, he needs a dedicated secondary device to eliminate friction, and he absolutely refuses to fight his own shadow.
He just cuts right through it.
He is able to cut through the deafening marketing noise of the new flagship releases. He identifies the exact, slightly older piece of hardware that perfectly serves his needs.
He found the sweet spot.
He found the brief, shining window in time when a manufacturer decided to experiment with a brilliant practical feature like a telemacro lens.
Right before the accountants made them strip it away to save a few cents.
Sadly, yes.
So what does this all mean?
That's the big question.
When we step back from the megapixel counts, the focal lengths, and the specific Xiaomi phone models, what is the big takeaway for you, the listener?
From an old software plumber's quest to take pictures of bugs.
Exactly. I think it shows us that being a truly informed consumer is almost an act of rebellion.
Oh, definitely.
You cannot blindly accept the linear upgrade path that massive tech companies lay out for you. Newer is not inherently better.
It rarely is these days.
Often, modern progress is just an illusion built on cost-cutting and marketing sleight of hand.
It requires a willingness to deeply question the default options presented to you.
You have to know what you want.
If you know exactly what problem you're trying to solve, if you understand your own personal use case, You can bypass the compromises of modern consumerism entirely.
You don't have to play their game.
You might find that the perfect tool for your job requires buying a refurbished piece of tech from 3 years ago. True optimization isn't about having the newest gear,
It's about having the right gear.
having the right gear for the physical reality of your environment.
It's an incredibly empowering way to view the things we buy. It means the best equipment isn't always the most expensive equipment in the glass display case.
Usually it's not.
It's the equipment that actually respects the limitations of your hands and your lighting.
Well said.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, there is one final, larger concept I want you to consider. And it loops all the way back to the qianmeng.org blog itself.
The 15 years of posts?
Right. We spent this entire time dissecting the hardware Ang is hunting for. The lenses, the sensors, the devices. But zoom out and look at the staggering scale of his public journal.
Thousands upon thousands of posts.
Over 730 entries in a single year. He has been chronicling every microstep, every failure, every tiny iteration of his hobbies and professional work from 2011 all the way to 2026.
The relentless documentation of his journey is arguably more significant than the technological destination he arrives at,
We live in an era dominated by fleeting, algorithmic social media.
where everything vanishes.
Right. Everything we learn disappears into an endless scrolling feed. But Ang is executing something entirely different. He is building a permanent, searchable archives of his own mind.
It's a powerful thing to leave behind.
So here is something for you to mull over as you go about your day. What if the ultimate hack to mastering a new skill isn't the perfect piece of equipment you finally managed to hunt down?
What if it's the process?
What if the real secret to expertise is the relentless, organized public documentation of your own daily failures and discoveries over 15 years?
That's a profound thought.
Maybe the tool that actually makes you an expert isn't the specialized lens in your pocket, it's the journal you leave behind.